Testing 1, 2, 2, 2. We're testing. All right. Testing. Oh, thanks, Danny. Thank you. I need you to put your headphones on. Must be Danny must have had a few tins last night. He's got his glasses on. All right. How do you feel about that? Can I hear? Give me a testing.
I think we're good.
Okay, I think you'll need you. So like 2 fingers. And use these guys to screw these guys in. Just screw them in. So just, yeah. Okay. Awesome. All right. Give me a testing 1, 2, 3.
Give me a cafe con leche.
Oh, okay. Go on. Some more.
Barty's coffee, Rafael Minas, Geras Colombia,
Yes.
Catura anaerobic washed micro lot.
First of all, can we just introduce ourselves? I'm the Barty from Barty Coffee. We're a mental health initiative / a roastery / adventure company trying to be a charity, acting as a charity. And we've been working with Danny. How do you say your surname again, Danny?
Cannoli.
You got to talk to the thing, mate.
It's the first time I've ever spoken into a microphone.
Oh, there you go. Danny Natali, who runs Rina's, is one of the cousins, and we thought we'd rip out a bit of a podcast this morning while Danny's still trying to wake up. So I hear. Danny and I have been hanging out for a couple of months. We've sort of collabed on a coffee and cannoli thing out the front. It's a tap and freshly popped cannolis. But Danny's got his own story. Anyway, Mental Health Month. And again, we're here, Danny, Barty, talking about coffee, wine, and food.
It's coffee. We're talking about coffee.
Just the coffee? Yeah, this coffee's pretty good. What do you think of it?
So far, I'm enjoying it. It's the first thing for the morning.
Yeah, I quite like it. I've had 2 already. I think I'm going to climb a wall.
But tell me about it. It's from Colombia. What's a washed micro lot?
So again, micro lot is a type of coffee that is grown in serious. It's a small patch of a plot of land, and to be able to keep that coffee alive for approximately 5 years is the hardest thing in the world, which means that it's organically grown, and it's a very small plot of coffee that has been grown, survived, for 5 years, and they've only a small sample of this coffee is available, so I bought the whole lot. Micro lot, it's washed, it's processed, and it's anaerobically fermented as well. Tastes like orange rind and orange peel type of and caramel. It's quite good on the palate when it cools down a bit. But yeah, batch brew. I've had this for about 6 months, 12 months. Every time I rip it out, it's just one of those beautiful, beautiful coffees.
Why did you think that batch brewed coffee would work well with the cannolis?
Well, you've just got to talk to the mic, or lift it up, or move forward. Move right forward. Yeah, that's it. So why do I think? I think I genuinely have a thing for black coffee, and especially when it's specialty, you have to drink it black without any sugar or milk. And then obviously the pairing with the ricotta and the zesty pistachio is just great. What a great match!
It doesn't have that espresso smell, the singing in your ears of coffee in the morning that you get with like a mocha pot in your house, or it's beautiful coffee though, really. For first thing in the morning, or even I'd have this with ice.
Yeah,
like I know you don't like putting milk with the coffee, but for me, if it was a little bit of a warmer day, I'd be having this with definitely as an iced coffee.
Iced coffee, yeah. It goes well. I gave you another amazing profile the other week, and you surprised me with a tiramisu yesterday. That was pretty good.
We'll taste that today.
Oh my god, that was like I could go to heaven. But yeah, this coffee especially, there's not a lot. Again, because it's a micro lot. This profile as a vintage you won't taste that again. Purely around the fact that obviously global warming and whatever. But yeah, this coffee, I bought I think 2 bags of this, so 120 kilos, and that was it for the micro lot.
So as well, for a lot of myself mostly, the way I've sort of understood wine and built a bigger interest in wine is understanding varietals, understanding regions, understanding the origins or
Right.
how things are harvested, the levels of altitude and soil and the different processes that go into producing wine. But how important is all of that for coffee as well? Because I think so many people wouldn't even consider that that's the process that goes into a great cup of coffee, or that the farming process is as important as the machine that you're using, or the grinder that you're using, or the barista on that machine and grinder. How do people now understand what's important in a great cup of coffee?
So yeah, good point. They don't. I'm just going to say it. That big fat. I just like a good coffee. That doesn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
Again, coffee is very similar to wine, the way it's grown. Plus, it takes a lot longer to grow a coffee, which is a little bit mind blowing. I know we talked about this last podcast, but it takes such a long time to keep a coffee alive. And then let's talk about the terroir. It's about the region, the style of obviously what's in the ground, how it's weathered. All that stuff is really, really important to be able to obviously create a profile. And these coffees, like from Ethiopia and Colombia, these are heritage sort of lands where coffee has been grown for a very, very long time, which means a lot of that soil is so incredible to be able to produce like series coffee like this, right? So, and then we're talking about the profile. When I talk about profile, it's the type of coffee that's grown. What does it say? It's a red Bourbon, no?
Right.
Exactly. What's the varietal?
It's Caturra.
It's a Caturra.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. So at Barty, we only do single origins. So I hate mixing, and it's really all about where it comes from, the way it's grown, obviously the terroir, what's in the soil, and then you're essentially tasting the origin and what's in the air, what's around it. And that's what makes up a single origin. There's no blending, no anything. So this one here is quite extraordinary as a cup. Fermented. It's a Caturra, which is a high profile varietal. And then you're talking about altitude as well. So there's a whole bunch of factors that no one knows about when it comes to growing a coffee as opposed to roasting a coffee. Because I know this one here, this is probably my best roast I've ever done with this coffee. And I noticed when I was roasting it 2 weeks ago, there was a lot of humidity and it was quite warm, which meant that I didn't have to really dial up the heat in the roaster to be able to cook this quite perfectly. And so, the roasting process is an art in itself, and then obviously the dialing in process. So this batch brew, I've developed a recipe for this specific coffee, and as a result, it's just extraordinary in the cup. So there's a bit of a story that no one knows about when you ask for a soy latte at a regular shop. You shouldn't obviously drink coffee with milk. I do all the time, but milk and sugar, you really want to taste the profile, the origin.
You can't say people shouldn't do something though. To me,
true.
Like it's if you want your coffee the way you want your coffee. Like it's, growing up in Melbourne, you won't. Even when I was younger, I didn't drink coffee. I had no desire to drink it. But then you start working in hospitality. It's a Kickstarter as well, even today. Yeah. But to then move on to trying to understand it a bit more, or thinking that there's an important farmer, or there's an important volcanic ash in the soil in Colombia, or the difference of anaerobic washed cherries and what's organic, what's not. How is this one? What are the things that are making this one like less susceptible to to the rusts or diseases
Right.
and things that are affecting the coffee world?
There's that's a really complex question.
It is 8:00 in the morning on High Street.
On High
We're-
Street, Armadale, and we're doing
We're
a
kicking into
podcast.
into
Shit.
the
Deep
questions
deep
of,
questions.
of the dark.
I'm glad I had a
the
few
dark
coffees
matter.
before you arrived, mate. Keeping a coffee alive to be able to produce fruit is a thing in itself. There's different species of coffee, being Arabica, and Robusta. Arabica was a mutation of Robusta, and the reason why they scientifically changed it was because of keeping it alive. So coffee is prone to rust, meaning leaves go brown and they die, and as a result, you can't produce a good crop. So when it comes to Arabica and certain species, certain varietals have been produced to be able to weather rust and keeping the thing alive, right? So there's something to be said around varietal and then a region. So a lot of regions like like wine will go really well in certain regions. So like, Champagne grows a certain grape, and that grape goes really well with that terroir. It's the same thing with coffee, right? So again, there's different profiles of different varietals that go well with different regions in the world. And what's really cool, the other coffee that I bought as well from the same farm is a Sidra. And that's
That's what we tried 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, no, you've only tried it once. It's the one that tastes like strawberries.
That's right.
And that is a red bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
Red bourbon Sidra is the type of profile or type of bean, type of plant, and it's quite rare to be able to be planted and to work in another side of the world is like extraordinary.
But that was even when we smelled that. Like the exciting thing about having all these different coffees with you was even a cupping that we did recently, smelling the roasted bean,
Yeah,
to ground bean, to what was it called then? You wet it, and then there's the crust, and but smelling that strawberry characteristic the whole way through, and comparing that to something else that was really vegetal and smelt like it smelt like asparagus, like when you cook asparagus, and then there's
and you peed up
that or the water from cooked asparagus. That coffee smelt exactly like it. I think it was an Indonesian one. But then this strawberry characteristic and the different tropical characteristics that come through in different beans is as well. It's actually mind blowing that a little roasted coffee bean can have so many different characteristics.
Well, they reckon that a coffee has probably a profile for the roaster to be able to dial in, or profile of like 1,700 different flavors. 1,800 different flavors, and it's all up to the roaster to be able to get it into that zone. But what's mind-blowing for me every time is you're actually tasting the region, the origin, where it comes from, the altitude, what's around that farm. Like how can a coffee taste like pineapple? How can a coffee taste like caramel without anything?
Where is a pineapple coffee? Where does that come from?
Again, I have...
It's a particular region, it's a particular bean, it's a particular...
Roast.
It's a roasting style.
No, it's all of that combined.
Okay.
Yeah, so
as well, like someone will pick up someone that loves an Etna Rosso or an Etna Bianco or a Chardonnay, they'll pick that up and they'll be able to smell it and say, that's a Chardonnay, that's a Mornington Chardonnay. That's they'll know. Someone will pick it up and say that's exactly what that is just by smelling it. How much can people do that with coffee?
The same. They should be able to do the same.
Okay.
Because every region, every profile, so every species varietal is very different, and Yeah, it's exactly the same. Unfortunately, you don't have smelly airs in coffee, do you?
I've never ever thought about. I've never thought to like. I like the smell of the room more than the smell of the coffee in the cup. Like I love the smell that it gives to the environment that I'm in. But how can someone pick this up and say this is Coutura from Colombia?
Yep.
And I think it was roasted. Or I think it was grown by Raphael,
Right.
and it,
we're not that educated, and that's what I'm saying. Like this is the third wave, fourth wave of coffee, and so we're currently in the third wave where people are picking up, especially going, "Oh, that's nice. I'm happy to pay $40 for that a cup."
That's it. That's exactly where it has to go.
Yes.
Often, you'll be in the city, or you could be in an airport somewhere, and you'll pay $7 for a coffee, $8 for a coffee, and you think, oh, okay, maybe it's just because I'm at the airport, or I'm in somewhere on Collins Street, and it's expensive, but
you don't know what you're tasting.
But as well, is it because they're putting the price up because they're in an expensive area, or they've got great coffee? Because I've paid $7 for a really shit coffee.
Yeah, there's two parts to that. So I'm gonna try and answer that question. First of all, most roasters don't tell you where it's from because they want their brand, the roaster brand, to come through as the where it's come from. I'm flipping that on the head and using and saying that our coffee comes from this region. You can buy it from this farm, and this is the profile, right? All our coffees have a clear definition of where it's from. It's not about Barty being the roaster. I'm just the guy that learned how to cook it. But it's really important that we big up the farmers right from the get-go about their process, their region, and what's in that region for it to taste a certain way, right? So we as roasters locally, globally, try and not explain where it is, because it's really easy for someone to go and buy that coffee direct from farm.
And then it's their brand, it's their image on the
correct.
As well. So it is really comparable to wine, because I'll focus a lot on the producer, or the wines that I want people to enjoy have a story. They have passion from the moment it's tended and cared to in the vineyard, all the way through to the glass. And there is people that care about that, and people that aren't interested in that. They're interested in their environment. They're interested in the company that they're sharing, which as well, that's, I think, the beauty of whatever goes into a glass is it's also a hell of a lot to do with the environment and the company more than anything. And if there's that extra conversation that's about how it got there, like, I don't know, that's probably the person who's working in hospitality's job to translate that.
Absolutely.
Wine, you can end up having really boring conversations about it's at this sea level, and sometimes that just washes over whoever's there because
they
they're
don't
like,
care.
no,
They
great,
just
that's
wanna
cool,
taste
yeah, that's beautiful glassware, amazing. I'm here with my friends. I want to chat with them.
Go away.
But to have a deeper understanding about how your coffee got to your glass. I know that's exactly why we're sat here today.
Yeah, absolutely. And so
I need another one.
Well, help yourself, mate.
Your machine is another reason why we're here. It's the what do we call it? The Trevi Fountain of coffee.
It's just a tap, mate. You press a button,
but it is like the Trevi Fountain for coffee.
So I built this machine. You might see it. You might be off camera, but basically, instead of waiting, 15 minutes for a coffee, because someone's trying to do frothy milk, I've created a tap where you can press a button. Amazing coffee comes out. You get to sit down and have a chat. It's Danny. It's really, really hard to break through into that. Let's call it fourth wave, because that fourth wave will allow us to do cool stuff like coffee pairings. And so I was just leading into it. So what we're doing at Rina's, collabing with Danny and Rina Cucina is an Italian beautiful restaurant. We're about to do a coffee bar, but unlike anything else out there, there'll be a couple of taps. You sit down and having a couple of taps, you'll be able to try various coffees that I'll have on tap, which means that, there'll be a $2 coffee from wherever, and there'll be a $40 coffee. And so you can have a bit of a chat, taste some coffees and maybe a couple of cannoli or some chiquetti. And so, yeah, that's a really cool premise. It's about the experience, and we've talked about this a little bit, but, when I get the opportunity to explain 4 or 5 different coffees, then people actually get the difference between what a $2.50 cup of coffee looks like, tastes like, versus, a $40 Dom P.
Translating that with coffee.
You've got to talk to
which
the
is
mic.
still, I can hear myself.
Yeah, but I can hear reverb.
I know that the excitement you get from a $2 coffee,
yeah,
and a $40 coffee,
yeah.
How is it going to be that much better?
Look, another amazing question. I love talking to this. It's really about your palate. Like, I'll ask you as a chef, how do you increase your palate?
Well, as well, it's your understanding what you're tasting. So that's
sort of. Well, you just got to taste different stuff.
But you're constantly smelling, you're tasting,
exactly.
Different textures might and memory as well. Like,
right.
So you taste something for the first time.
Right.
Like the first time I ever tasted, I had my cousin. He had a student in his house that was Korean, and it was like 10 years old, but I'd never tasted kimchi.
Right.
And as well, like there were, where
when good kimchi, homemade, like extraordinary.
I still don't know if this was a good one or not, but I remember as well, like I'm a food perv. Like if someone's fridge is there and there's someone staying in the house and they've got these really strange ingredients in the fridge, and there was like, you've opened it up and usually there's back then you'd be maybe some corned beef and some. It was a really like simple fridge. And then all of a sudden there's these red lidded big bags of like really stinking fermented cabbage, garlic, and as well I was like
what the hell is this?
Open it up, like fork into it, and the still the memory of the taste and the fizziness of it, and the like I remember how repulsed I was by
really?
it. Like repulsed.
I thought you would have just made it was
the first time I'd ever tasted it. It was with nothing else. I got a fork full of kimchi, and I just remember everything in my head was like ringing, and my senses were so confused.
Yeah.
That I just thought it was the weirdest thing that anyone could ever eat. And this guy used to have it on rice. He'd have it with fried eggs. He'd have it with.
It's also good for you as well.
Really good.
Yeah.
It was huge. But so that's what I mean about like your palate understanding and developing. 25 years later.
Yeah.
Anything fermented right now is
the shizzle.
I would just love it. Like with salamis at Rina's at the moment, I'll have a little bit of pickled apple and fermented chili. Yeah. But I think that growth of my palate and understanding food, I don't think I would have ever put fermented chili and apple with salami unless I had have put a fork into a tub of kimchi and just eaten it. Right. Because as well, now would you ever have, even on restaurant, even on menus here, we've made kimchis with cabbage and peach and saltbush and all of those things I think actually stemmed from the moment that I ate raw kimchi.
But back to the point, how do you grow your palate? Taste different stuff,
but tasting constantly.
Okay, so going to the same coffee shop because that coffee shop knows how to make a margin, will buy only a certain coffee that will pair well with milk, and you will continually go to that shop and go, oh, that's a good coffee, you just like it a certain way. How are you going to expand your palate drinking other profiles, varietals, species?
People really are habitual as
Yeah.
well. So if I go to, not a lot of people will go, I really need a specialty coffee this morning. I'm craving a micro lot Brazilian.
But you do that when you go to the restaurant for lunch or dinner, and like you want to pick your wine.
But I will crave, a dark roasted coffee from Mario's on Brunswick Street. I'll crave it, and even when you have it,
is it the experience of the coffee?
That's the thing. It's everyone talks about nostalgia with food or wine and memories and things, but it's the nostalgia of it. You can sit up on the bench there, and it does. You can have memories of the first time you went there. You can have memories of a time you went there. Yeah, you were having a shit time. You can have memories of
going back and drinking the same coffee. So it's the memory.
But the coffee's never gotten better. It's never gotten worse.
It's the same.
It's the same. But I'm sure if they changed it or tried to,
fair enough.
They're such a part of coffee culture in Australia that they've still got their first ever coffee machine. That I think they had one of the first ever espresso machines in the country.
Right.
So I think to not change is a challenge as well. To not.
Interesting.
To stick with the way you do things, and that's how culture stays, and that's how culture evolves as well. Because people can take something and they can improve it, or they can understand it more, and refine techniques to make a great cup of coffee.
Yeah.
But as well, still, I'll go there and have a double shot of a very dark roast and. Some eggs on toast with some mushrooms and a glass of Prosecco and orange juice. That's not a good way to liven up your palate in the morning, but
no,
it makes me feel good.
Nostalgia. Again, specialty. We're not talking about specialty coffee there. We're talking about. Excuse me. I need water. But
Still sparkling.
Sparkling, please. There is none. You've run out.
Salvatore drank it all.
Danny's woken up. So again, specialty coffee. Back to the point. You got to taste a lot of different coffees to understand what you're drinking. And unfortunately, us as a society just don't give a shit about coffee. They just think about what it gives you as opposed to what it tastes like. Some people, but not a lot.
I have woken up, but now as well, you have 4 coffees to wake up, and your mind just starts going everywhere. Can people drink specialty coffee every single day?
Yes, I do it every day.
What if they can't afford it? Drink like anything.
Okay,
eat the
drink the tap water or filtered water. It's the same thing.
Okay. How can they do it at home on?
Well, it's just buying a good like 1 sec. This is the coffee that we're drinking. That's 250 grams, $40.
Mm-hmm. So as well, if you're running a coffee shop, you want people to.
No one's going to buy 250 grams for $40.
No one. But so if
that's what I'm saying.
But you want people to drink specialty coffee, but they can't
$48.
afford to do it.
$48
in a cafe every day. You want them to be making it at home, with pour over, with what's the best way to have your coffee at home to understand and enjoy it? If you're not a barista, if you're not a super coffee enthusiast, how do you then have this at home and you can sustain it? Because coffee's not drinking coffee every single day is probably not the most sustainable thing, but how can you enjoy it at home?
Yeah,
with the equipment that
you've got.
So
first of all, different coffees, different
Sorry
roasts.
if I've gone off track.
No, all good. No, this is a good question. Different coffees, different profiles, different roast, light, dark, go for different applications. No one gets that. So this coffee, this varietal, will go well as a batch and also espresso.
Mhm.
It will pair well with milk, a certain type of milk, without a lot of fat, because this is quite a medium to high acidity type of profile. In the way I've roasted it. But again, the reason why it's really expensive, first of all, as a micro lot, sourced direct from farm, direct to me, I roast it.
So the farmers are supported with what being paid the right price
the
for
market
what their
price.
coffee.
Correct.
It's a market price that changes daily. It can change yearly.
And
it's seasonal.
Correct, seasonal. So just call it seasonal. So every crop has a price. Then you have currency exchange.
Mhm.
Then you have freight. Then you have taxes, all that shit, and then it lands here as a price point. So this coffee, I think it was like, I don't know, it was like $2,000 for 60 kilos.
Mhm.
I bought the whole lot. I got my hands on 2 60-kilo bags, and now I sit on it. So green coffee will last about 10 years. It will gradually degrade in taste, but it's very, very slow to keep it in the right environment. Anyway, so I then have to profile it, and I got to do my thing to be able to get it to a flavor. It takes months of profiling, and then coffee goes off in 4 weeks approximately. So from roast, you have to degas it a week to about 2 weeks. That's when it's perfect, and then it goes stale.
But
Right?
you're not saying it goes off. Like
It goes stale.
it's stale, and as well, you can still drink it and enjoy.
Yeah, I
it.
know, but you're not gonna get the best out of it, right? So made to order is a thing. You shouldn't be buying kilos and kilos of coffee. You should be buying it in small lots and opening it because it's fresher and like you get it at a certain party, a certain. So it's a bell curve, right? It goes down. Coffee needs to degas 2 weeks. It gets there. It's awesome. Then it goes down and goes stale, right? So no one tells you that. So buying often at small lots is probably the best way forward. But again, I'm passing on all the costs for it to be in this bag. Like I'm putting on my cost and what I paid for it, the green coffee, and then to put it in the bag and margin on top of that. There's about 20% margin on top of that.
Mhm.
And this is why it costs $48. So back to the point, how do you get good coffee in the house? Different coffees for different applications, batch brew, espresso, and then so people are a bit anxious about buying or spending a lot of money on coffee because they don't know how to use it properly or dial it in properly. So they're all a bit, I'm not spending $100 on a bag of like 150 grams.
Mhm.
So there's a bit of that around. But again, if you don't try, test and learn, you're never going to dial in a good coffee or understand how to. And so let me just flip the coin for you. Then there's a whole bunch of companies like Nespresso and Cannoli's, and I love those companies, right? They're all in the business of selling coffee. But
at selling coffee for the most, almost to inject it to the quickest. Like that's what those coffees are to me. It's as well. Great coffee, great products, great.
Well, are they great? They're just trying to make a margin on buying a varietal that will. So buying a coffee that will create.
George Clooney says they're great.
Please.
George Clooney says
George
they're great.
Clooney will do anything with that coffee, the amount of money that they pay him. Right? If they asked him to put it up his bum, he'd still put a cap up his bum.
The coffee is, I guess, at that end of the spectrum, it's the quickest way that you can get it into you. The capsules, oh my God, the machines. You've probably got an espresso machine.
No, I don't.
You don't? Never?
No,
I don't have one either. But I've
never had one.
Never.
But
you've drunk an espresso.
Yeah, of course.
What do you think isn't good about those things? For me, it's just the waste, like the amount of, I don't know if those things are, the little pods are compostable now, but are they, like the amount of millions of those little things? They're like cigarette butts.
Yeah.
And I don't know that the amount that the hospitality and service industries like just churn through. Like even a small restaurant like this,
Yeah.
you do little things to try and minimize waste. But operating hotels, and you see the amount of rubbish just like excreted daily is it's feral.
Yeah, I agree. First of all, this will probably blow your mind. How can you make coffee taste the same every time in a certain pod? Don't forget, these coffees are vintages. They're grown every 6 to 12 months, and different weathering happens. So how can a coffee taste the same, first of all? So how do you put stuff in a pod that makes it taste and be at a certain price point that's below anything else? And then you're using a machine which is quite ingenious in terms of how it makes the crema, because that crema is quite fake, because you're not using 12 bar. You're actually using, if you Google, there's a whole bunch on how an espresso machine works. But the reality is, what else are they putting in these coffees, in these caps, that make them taste the same? It's almost impossible to make coffee taste the same every time.
So you're going to tell us?
Well, he can't.
But how does Nespresso make the best coffee, caramel, vanilla?
Well, what do you like? I'm just trying to get you to understand.
Well,
then what else do they fucking put in that cup to make it taste the same?
So it's not just coffee.
I guess so.
Do you know?
Well, I'd be debunking a whole premise.
Is it the machine, or is it what's inside the
cup? What's inside the pod?
The pod.
Yeah.
Well, let's find that out.
I reckon that's another podcast in itself.
Who's the person that Googles things while we're talking and fact checks.
I need a water. He's going to make us a cannoli. He's going to freshly pipe a cannoli for us while we have it with some Barty coffee from Colombia, a Cordura anaerobically washed microlight. Again, extraordinary coffee, grown at altitude 1,700 meters, volcanic ash, quite a light roast. And $27 for 150 grams. For $2.50, you're paying about $40 for a coffee. But extraordinary, super smooth, easy drinking, and it goes hard. All righty then. There we go. Did you bring the water? Maybe put this over here. All right. Whoop. Oh, that smells amazing. Oh, yeah. Thank you, sir. All right. All right. Talk me through it. Thank you for the water. All right. Yeah, so it's just behind your sort of, so. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, just sit there and, all right.
Cannolis, what's cannoli? It's cake. It's a sweet. It's a biscuit. It's a...
Yeah, but you seriously, like I've never tasted anything like it. The shells are quite...
I make them a bit thinner than...
Yeah, they're quite brittle, but like you're tasting air, and then the filling, which is also quite extraordinary. Anyway, show me how you pipe.
They're delicate. You have to be...
And it has to be made to order. It can't just be from the night before.
I don't think you can say you're serving a cannoli unless it's been piped just before it's eaten.
Right.
I don't think you can.
See, I've been to the South Melbourne markets and I've tasted some other place cannolis, and they're just a bit stodgy and a bit fat. Like you can taste like it's just the...
Well, anything mass produced these are artisan. They're not a mass produced thing. So if you're putting anything that you want to have a longer shelf life, these aren't that. These are we make them daily. They're piped to order.
Yep.
Use really high quality ingredients. There's in the little pastry. Traditionally, they'd be rolled around bamboo.
Oh.
or even old broom handles. Like
Oh.
old Italians, they're thrifty. So as well, an old broom handle is what these get rolled around, but it's not an old broom handle; it's a new broom handle.
Really?
Yeah. But then the shells, you roll out the pastry, cut them into the little rings, form them around the broom handle. They should, and as well, like anything, they're all individual. They're not. You want to see the little bubbles that are created from laminating the pastry. And traditionally, there's lard in them. Which I'm actually not using. I'm using butter, and yeah, they're special. Cannolis are special.
All right.
A little bit of.
Oh, you put the stuff on first.
That's my trick. A little bit of icing sugar
on top, and then you pipe.
And I'll pipe.
I just put the icing at the end.
Both.
Oh, you can.
But then you want a little bit of the icing sugar.
Yeah.
In the top.
Ah, hand piped. Oh, gee, look how.
Then dip.
Oof.
These are pistachios, Australian pistachios.
Thank you, sir.
The best ones in the world come from Sicily, Bronte.
Right. Oh, my lordy lord. Look at that. Oh. I'm a massive fan of pistachio gelati.
Oh, yeah.
Messina.
What's the best one in
Messina.
Melbourne?
Messina do.
Messina's really good.
Yeah. Mm. 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 Mm.
They're not too big.
Mm.
Sometimes the bigger cannolis, you have three bites.
Oh my god, so good. So if you've gone to the gym next door and want a coffee and cannoli, cake for breakfast, but they're so light that it doesn't feel like you're actually ruining yourself.
The ricotta is beautiful. That's from Floridia out in, and you can make it as well. But because as well, the whole process we make here, the ricotta we're not making. We don't have the space for it, and they do such a beautiful ricotta.
Oh my god, that.
What do you taste there?
Well, I'm going to tell you that the experience is only time I'm going to taste a good cannoli. Where is it going to take me to? Here, Armadale, hanging out with Danny, teaching me how to make good food, like the Nonna did, like the Rina did. Just say thanks for being here, allowing us to participate in a cannoli.
It's
coffee
Casa
tasting.
del Popolo. It's House of the People. Rina's is House of the People.
Yep.
It's Barty's house.
Thank you, mate. Again, Men's Mental Health. It's a Mental Health Month in November, so we thought we'd do a little podcast. Wanted to obviously celebrate it with a little bit of coffee and cannolis with Danny, freshly piped, of course. And thank you for having us, Danny. Thank you. What brings you to? What brings you to Rina's this year for Mental Health Month?
What brings me here?
Yeah,
myself. You rock up for yourself. You taught me this. You got to rock up for yourself, show up for yourself.
Yeah.
And be better every day.
Be better. Try and be better.
Be better. Work out what makes you feel good.
Oh, mate.
And go for it.
Yeah, that's it. I love that stuff. Anyway, thank you again. We're just putting up the podcast on YouTube. And again, thank you for Rina's for allowing us to participate.
Mate. Have a safe, amazing trip in Nepal. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you... When someone says to me they're a high-functioning person, you are the epitome of that. Waking up, I don't know how many jobs you've got, but people think they work hard in so many different industries. But as well, I've seen you, the way you've shown up here, and going from someone that I just met, didn't know, from a bar of soap, and then the way you've rocked up here and helped to get this all going as well. It means a lot. So I appreciate it as well.
Thanks, buddy. That's a lot. It means a lot. I mean, Barty Barty, the essence of Barty is really getting people on the ride, and it's not about telling them what to do. It's about getting them to feel. And part of that feeling is just making sure you get out of bed, sort your shit out, whether you start with a coffee or go for a run so that you don't fuck shit up for the rest of the day. And so for me, going to Everest is really, 2 weeks of just space between, no internet, no phones, no devices, just so I can unpack some of the shit that's going on for me, but also just making sure that I get time to think about stuff without no distractions. And for me, hiking's one of those activities that makes me want to come back and crush it. So I'm looking forward for 2 weeks of just time out to allow me just to reset for another mega year. But also we're keen to obviously start as it's the end of COVID, so start organising adventures for other people to join us. And we're thinking of doing something in Italy, potentially going to a couple of farms over there, and then obviously I'm thinking about Everest again next year, and fly fishing and some dude stuff will be coming up. So yeah, stay tuned.
Beautiful, mate. Enjoy. Look at it. Get into that Nepalese honey and the fresh air.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And be safe.
Thanks, buddy. Cheers. Thank you for the cannolis. All right. Thank you. That's a cut.
Bravo.